Call the meeting to order. The first item on the agenda for May has to be the election of the chairman. As I've said already, though he might not have been here, Lindsay is an apology, we'll come to that later, but he has said he's happy to be nominated and stand. But do we have anybody else that would like to be considered for chairman? Are there any other nominations for the chairman? Anybody else like to be? Okay, I would like to nominate Lindsay then, who said he's happy to be nominated as chairman in his absence. So in that case, can I have a vote? All those in favour of Lindsay's taking over as chair? Right, what should happen now is obviously Lindsay should take over.
Resolve that he can accept his silence declaration.
Right. Next thing then, because he's not here, can we resolve pass a resolution that we're happy that he'll sign his declaration before the start of the next meeting? All those in favour? Yep. Thank you very much. Right, so we now have the issue that we are chairless effectively, so it's my job now to say, would we like to nominate a chairman or for this part of the meeting, or do we want to go on to the second part and nominate a vice chairman who can take over, because that's the job of the vice chairman?
I would like to nominate Councillor Pruden.
Alright, yeah. I'll happily do that, yeah.
As chair.
So which job? Chair or vice chair?
Vice chair, but then they can chair
Vice
chair.
Wonderful.
Do we have, thank you, it's the opposite of nominating someone. Do you have any other nominations?
Yes.
Chair. Vice chair.
No, I've already declined
I did
a
ask.
subtle offer from.
Oh, well, I don't know.
He's got his hands full with
No,
fire
I've got a
diversity.
bit too much on at the moment.
I tried.
You are you tired?
Do we have any other nominations for vice chair? In that case, can I have a show of hands to accept the vice chair position?
Congratulations.
Congratulations, you'd like to sign.
Oh, congratulations.
You can sign this at the bottom one. Yeah. On that one.
In the absence of a chair, the deputy chair takes the meeting.
Congratulations, you can sit here.
I'd like to thank everybody for all your hard work during my tenure. Thank you very much. Thank you, Claire.
Thank you very much.
I'm not sure what
Well, very
No,
much.
thank you.
But the votes of thanks in the minutes.
You didn't even get with the hot seat, did
Did not.
30 seconds preparation time.
How soon can you resign?
It's being dry on your contract. Yeah, so that's all done.
Possibly. Alright, well, thank you very much. Well, I'm sure you guys will all keep me right as we stop doing and doing things wrong. First things first, I think we should acknowledge the fact that Greg's done a grand job. And whether it can be admitted that we appreciate his services so far. And
Okay.
Long way they like agree.
right, number 3, apologies for absence.
Councillors Irene Blackburn and Lindsay Sauer. Lindsay Sauer.
How much notice do you have to give for absence?
Well, yeah, as long as we see it beforehand. The thing is, if you have 6 months without an apology being approved, then you automatically disqualified. So it's important to try and get them in. But you know, if it's one meeting, you can't get your apologies in time.
Yeah.
Unforeseen circumstances often crop up.
Okay then, disclosure of interests. Cool. Number 5, co-option. To adopt the co-option policy on a separate document.
We've all had this in draft. I've also sent back some comments that were made by the public, but have you got any comments before?
Okay, so are we happy to approve the co-option policy? All those in favour? 5B, to co-opt and fill 2 vacancies arising from a recent resignation, deferred from a previous meeting. All the applications received by Friday the 29th of April will be considered, as stated in the advertisement of the vacancy on the council website and notice board.
So we've had 4 nominations, four applications, sorry. 4 applications, which you sent round the information that they had sent in, so you've all seen that. So what we need to do is go through the 4 names one by one and have a show of hands, and we, if there's an absolute majority at the start, that would be the most straightforward. If there's a split of votes, and there's no absolute majority, we would remove one person, and then we would have a further round of voting until we get an absolute
So are
majority.
you vote for one, or you vote for 2?
We have to vote for the 2 each vacancy, one
Separately.
separately.
Can you read out the names of the applicants?
I can.
Just as a reminder.
Yeah, we've got 4 applicants. We've got Alan Dick, Chris Gamble, Fiona Pizzosia, and Adam McDonald. So for those of you that weren't aware, Adam's just come along to meet as well, because I know that we haven't seen him last time.
Right, yeah. So, first of all, we have Alan Dick. Have a show of hands.
That's me.
For the first,
So yeah, for the first vacancy. Are you voting for him for the first vacancy? We're doing one by one.
no, I'm not voting.
Okay, so we've got 1 vote. Right. Chris Gamble. Fiona Pizzosia. And Adam McDonald.
Oh, we can't vote for 2, right.
In which case I would suggest that we proceed with, we've got 1, 1, 2, 2 on votes, so I suggest we proceed with a vote between Fiona and Adam, if that's acceptable to everybody.
Yeah.
Can we say what we would do, just
I'll move forward.
the name of the person having the least votes should be struck off the list, so I suggest we straight both Alan and Chris off at this stage.
Yes.
Alan and Chris,
And we've got
one each.
Yes, at this point, but there's still...
Yeah,
That's
so
it.
second vacancy, yeah. Okay, if we have a second vote, then it's between Fiona Pizzosia and Adam McDonald. So can I have a show of hands for Fiona, please? And a show of hands for Adam, please. Congratulations, Adam, you are first councillor. Right, okay, so we're going to repeat the process, and this time we've only got 3 names to choose from, so that's Alan, Chris Gamble, and Fiona. Okay, show of hands for Alan, please, for the second vacancy. Show of hands for Chris, please. Show of hands for Fiona, please. Okay, so it's not an absolute majority.
No, so but the other 2 got 1 each.
No, they've got 1, 2, so it's 3, it's split 3, 3. It's split 1, 2, 3.
1, 2, 3. So the person with 1 is out, so we have a vote again between the 2 and the
Yes,
2.
correct, thank
If
you.
you're happy with that, Chair, that's what we agreed on the
Okay.
consent
That's
agenda.
right.
That's right.
So we're now voting between Chris Gamble and Fiona Pizzosia. So Chris, please. And Fiona, please.
No, hang on, who you vote?
Chris and
Chris
Fiona.
Gamble, Chris and Fiona.
You voted for which one?
Besides, you've done quick.
Chris Gamble, please.
Chris Gamble.
Fiona Pizzosia. Okay. 3. So it is 3, 3. So John, to be in the wrong position. Do you have a lasting vote?
I would like you vote for Chris.
Okay, so we have
Chair?
Yeah.
So whilst they've got, because they've got to sign their own forms now, haven't they?
yes.
While they're signing their forms, can I just make a statement, which I would like them to? There's been from my point of view, it's been quite obvious that people do not want a certain person to be elected. On the elections themselves, there's a smear campaign to stop them being elected. And on this, I think it's been a campaign to prevent that person being elected. I can't be on a committee that's going to be like that, I'm sorry. So please accept my resignation. There's a report from the county councillor. There's a report from the police. Thank you very much. Thank you all for your time. I'm sorry for it. It's just, it just appears to me there's been underhanded work.
Well, can I say something, Mr. Chair? I don't know what Mr. Lynch is talking about, because I heard of nothing, underhand or anything. It was an open vote. Everybody can see what they want to say. So what your objection is to, I don't know.
Can I just say for the rest of the council, just be careful of what you're told by a senior member of the council who thinks because he speaks loudly with gravitas and he's been on a long time, knows what he's talking about. You've seen emails from me where I've pulled him up, where he's been blatantly lying to the council. He's told me he lied before, and I've pulled him up, asked him to prove it to me, and he can't. So just be careful of what you're told. Thank you very much. Sorry about that. I really do apologise.
Okay. So we'll have a
For the record, I'm not aware of anything that's alluded to.
Maybe
No.
that.
Well, it's disappointing that this has happened.
So there's another vacancy.
There's another vacancy.
But it will be, so if I get that sorted as soon as possible, we should be able to put up the next meeting. Because we'll do
Sorry, before I forget, I'll give you all the finance stuff. So I don't want to be guilty.
I'll have to do 40 days, but we'll sort that out. But we've got you two. But we're about, well, we've got, yes, okay, well, we'll possibly talk about it. Okay. Can we resolve Chris will complete his declaration?
Yeah, at his first meeting. Yeah. Thank you to the members who expressed interest in joining the Parish Council. If you'd still like to join the Parish Council, there is a vacancy available. So.
We have to be, yeah, we have to give official notice of the vacancy and then we'll get told by County Council if we can go opt.
Right. Number 6, public questions. Members of the public may ask questions and make representations. Public questions are limited to 10 minutes in total, and it may be necessary to limit the time allotted to each person in accordance with standing orders of 4. Please note that the Parish Council may take a decision where an item raised is listed elsewhere on the agenda.
I would like to maybe ask a question on items within the agenda. Is that all right if I do that if they're not?
Yeah, it's up to your discussion.
Okay, yeah.
And the other thing is, do the councillors that have just been elected, maybe I missed that, do they not actually take their position on the committee?
They can, yeah. You can join us if you just scribbling in there.
Yeah, sorry.
Is there two? Sorry, is there not another person that's going to be?
Chris is the
All
president.
right, okay, thank you.
Right, sorry. So, public questions. Does anyone have any public questions?
Yeah. Just has heard anything more about the garages? What's happening or? No.
We haven't heard anything, but we will definitely chase it. Karen.
Yeah, just the policy that you passed for the co-option. I sent you a document which had a NALC advice for their system of operating, and you chose to ignore it or chose to go down a different route. Can you explain why you're normally happy to take NALC advice, but on this occasion you seem to not want to take it?
Everybody had seen the document that you sent round and we're happy to pass it.
Just in the past.
No, I'm just, my question is, why did you not want to take the NALC advice?
I think they felt that it was guidance and that this document reflects the co-option policies adopted by several parish councils. It was I think Lindsay spent a lot of time looking through various policies online and felt that this met what we had previously discussed.
I think just with previous experience that there's been a difficulty in getting councillors to, or people to put themselves forward as councillors and things. The adverts have just been put in the notice board and have been very slim, whereas obviously the NALC advice is to actually do some more publicity, as in look at sending things to local groups within the village, putting something up on the local Facebook sites, things like that. So going forward, maybe the committee would think about adding something along those lines to the policy that you've just adopted, so that you are actually hitting a bigger demographic of the parish, rather than just a notice.
Yeah, I mean, I posted on Facebook, which is how Adam came to
that. Yes, but that's not in the policy document, and it hasn't been done in the past, which obviously it could have been, you know. But I take your point.
Whilst I agree with the comments, the NALC recommendation is a general recommendation to encourage people nationally to get involved with parish councils. It's not particular for any individual parish. The whole essence of the multimedia support for parish councils is to get people on parish councils generally, because it's not, I mean, there's about, in Northumberland, I don't know what it is nationally, I'm not sure what it is nationally, in Northumberland there's about 60 or 70 vacancies throughout 150 parish councils. And some are in quarters, and some have got nobody. And that is the whole essence of the media Facebook pages.
I think also, I mean, much as I know that we're still working towards things, I think the progress that we've made over the past 18 months with the interest that we've got in the parish council from the community as a whole has been absolutely immense. I think we sorry?
I totally
so
agree.
you totally agree
Yes.
with that. And I think we do need to kind of congratulate ourselves to a point, and I'm not saying that we are there by any means at all, but things are moving in a positive direction on that front.
I totally agree. I think with this establishment of the committees and things that the parish council have put in place actually opens it up to having more work done and having more people involved.
Yeah.
So I totally agree. So.
Does anybody have any strong objections to putting it a bit further out there that is a parish notice?
I think, yeah, I mean, I personally am happy to take, I mean, the thing is though that I am embarrassingly technologically limited in myself, but I am happy to drive forward better communications with the general public and things. I think in the past I've felt kind of, because I think that Facebook and our local Facebook group is an absolutely fantastic resource, but I'm also kind of almost reluctant to put things on there because I'm people say, oh, you shouldn't be utilising that because it limits who it goes to and things. And when we're looking at communication with the wider public, we can use free resources, but then there's things that's also going to cost us money when we do a campaign and things. And I think we have to, look at how we're utilising, those funds and things, because when we're talking about doing,
But actually,
Could
the
just
point-
say the
sorry.
NALC advice isn't talking about spending money,
No,
it's
no.
using the resources that are readily to hand in any village.
okay.
And actually the point I made was actually just to contact the local groups within the village, which is
Okay.
just emails, and potentially put something on Facebook.
Yeah,
So it was actually quite
Yeah.
straightforward.
Well,
and that was to put it in the policy
we now
document.
have another place, which will be coming up,
Yeah.
and we will ensure that we, do try to communicate to a wider audience on that front.
Yeah.
Is that, we happy
Well,
with that?
no, the question was the policy, but it's fine. Yes, that would be
Okay.
fine. Yeah.
I think there's also a lot of word of mouth.
Yes, now there is with some videoing, that's
when
obviously
they're
important.
vacancies or whatever, or anything.
Any other public questions? Okay, number 7 is to approve the minutes of the previous meeting.
Cheers, thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
See you, Judy. Thank you.
No,
Yeah.
Fiona did have a couple of comments that she emailed in, and Greg had a comment, but I haven't got one, so I'm sorry.
Well, I'll just,
I looked through them and I didn't agree.
it was one about the garages.
So it was one in public participation about
One about the garages where I think you were going to, you put the clerk will contact NCC to seek clarification about proposals. It was also, you mentioned that you would keep the garage owners informed. That was missing.
yeah.
And actually, obviously I'm saying this, but it's up to the committee to agree that this is the case.
No, I agree with that. I think
Right.
I remember saying we did say that. Yeah.
The finances, when it was asked about the clerk to confirm the contract, you did confirm the pay scale, but you also confirmed it was included in her terms of appointment at the beginning. So that was that, just that bit.
I'm happy with that. I don't think it also is.
The other one was about Felton surgery. Former chairman read out a letter that he had, and it actually mentioned Cheviot Medical Group and Glendale Surgery and Well Close.
Is that the 6? Is it? I wasn't sure. Did you mean which comprises 6 practices and then that they were named?
Yeah, I think it was.
It's been confused that this
Yeah.
PCN, which is a network of practices, but that's not the amalgamation.
It was. Clark confirmed that during the Council Blackburn, it was a PPG group received notification via Facebook of the surgery's inclusion in a Well Up North group, which comprises of 6 practices. But actually, Greg read out this statement that was a letter. It mentioned the Cheviot Medical Group, Glendale Surgery, and Well Close, who with Felton Woodrington, which in effect is Northumberland Health now, are planning to merge their contracts. So he read out that letter.
Okay.
With this potential new practice, we'll have one. What I'll do is I can send you.
Yeah, if you send me the names of those.
Yeah, so we actually did.
I think what I need to do then is say that they were included in the Well Up North group, and then an additional sentence to say the chairman read out part of the letter which refers to the possible new.
Yes, because that element got lost and then it got mixed up sort of within that.
Yeah.
And it's changed again, hasn't it?
Yeah.
To Health Northumbria or something?
Northumberland Health.
Northumberland
Is
Health.
that the email that came round?
That's what
That is
called.
No,
Yes.
Felton and Woodrington is called.
Felton.
Yeah, but they're now part of Lindisfarne Health.
Well, that's not been fully established yet.
No, this is where the
That is a proposal.
Felton Woodrington are now known as Northumberland Health. That is their name. I know that's.
Administratively, they're merging, but not practice, not the general practice.
But the two all are all merging.
Yes.
Can I ask if we can, with these amendments, are we happy to approve the minutes? All those in favour? Thank you. Number 8 is appointment of members to existing committees and working groups. It's list on page 7.
Yeah, I think so, because we've got quite a change of membership, I think so.
Okay. So I'll just list them out. And the top one on the list is Felton Cemetery Joint Committee.
And you were there.
Yeah, I would like to, I was reserved last time. So so I would like to take over as a full member, please.
Tony, you wanting to continue?
I'm quite happy to continue, yes. And you would reserve
And anybody else? Smartphone committee.
So further.
It sounds awful, doesn't it?
Same centre of Parish Council work, isn't it?
actually, it's not a bad committee.
It's not, because it's
It might change
only
as well.
4 meetings.
Anybody else like to join that?
Yeah.
No?
I would be reserved.
Yeah. So I'll send the agenda to you, but you'll need to attend if one thing that you can't.
Yeah.
That's it.
Next on, Felton Parish Council Recreation Field Committee. I would quite like to stay on this one.
So,
Okay.
and I think Lindsay wants to stay on as well, so that's the 3, unless anybody else wants to jump in, and we can add additional councillors, as the committee can add additional councillors, so if, I don't know if Adam, you wanted to do
Yeah,
that,
I'd like to join on that.
you could come along and pick which one from the committee. I'll put you down as the reserve member.
The Complaints Committee
Is everybody?
is everyone.
I would like to be on that one, I think.
The Finance Committee.
The main job for the finance committee is to help with the budget preparation, so we sort of tend to go through the draft budgets with me, and they have some audit sort of supervisory, so if they need to look at audit and accounts.
And at the moment, it's Greg, Eileen and me, isn't it?
Yes. Yes.
Which means
You want
it's
to
Eileen and me.
No, Tony's on it as well, were you not?
I wasn't, I've never had any notifications of you when there is a meeting.
No.
I thought there hadn't been any meetings.
No, well, there hasn't for a long time, Tony. I think it was just. No, I think it's for the budget. Did you not come to the budget one?
I was at the booth.
So you have.
Yes, I was.
Alright, okay, so
So is that, Tony, would you like to?
Yes,
Lena?
And I think I was happy to continue, but we can ask her to clarify.
I'm sure she is. She was in good spirits today actually when she spoke to me.
Do we need to have 2 substitute members as well?
Yes, because it's an important committee.
I'll stand as a substitute.
Yeah.
So will I.
Well done, thank you. Biodiversity and Climate Change Committee.
We've just got going there. What
Happy to continue.
Happy to continue.
Well, it'd be nice to actually do something, wouldn't it?
is happening?
Is that
It's happening.
and Joanne and Richard?
Yeah, do you want, we probably do need a substitute because we did sit there the other night and think that if somebody didn't come and work,
I would
they would come to
quite like to substitute that.
right, because Greg was
Welcome to the Greens.
They had a very, very full agenda the other night, so.
Oh, right, yeah.
The Property Management Committee?
You continuing, John?
Yes. Quite like to.
Tony, are you on that?
Yes.
Any other people?
Richard is a bit
Yeah.
of
Yeah, we are.
Adam.
Chris as well.
And I've put Chris down as a substitute, and then you can always come along, can't you, and get involved if you want to.
The Policies Review Working Group?
I don't think I've got any members left. Have I? No.
You want Eileen now?
I've got Eileen.
Eileen? And
Eileen.
you got Lindsay?
Eileen. Oh, Lindsay, I've got Lindsay and Eileen.
She's got to know the chairman now.
was I on that one?
You can certainly join me if you'd like. It's usually, Lindsay usually hosts us and provides coffee, and we have a chat through whatever
Could
policy
possibly
I've put in front of you.
reduce.
You should take over the fence.
We will be fine, we'll get extras if we need them.
No, we're a little down this list now, so I'd be asking this question, but are we caught in on council members as well?
No, the committees have got the authority to do that for themselves, so they'll do it at their next meeting.
The Contracts Working Group?
I'm happy to stay on that one.
Lindsay on there as
The
well.
contracts,
You're on that one as well.
I'm
You're
on
on
that.
Lindsay.
Yeah, I think I'm on that.
The Oval Working Group?
all these 3 had the same members, I think. It was Greg and Fiona Thornton and Barbara.
And
and yourself, and
There's only one left.
Fiona as a community member.
So,
Are you happy to be one?
yeah, I'm happy to do that. Do we ask if Fiona will continue as a community member? Fiona, can I ask you if you do?
I think you've only got one on. You need to get your other two members on to decide that.
Okay.
I don't think it's.
Would anybody else like to be a member of the Oval Working Group?
Well, really, the three
I would
of
put
you
the three together because they've been working on
They
a
need
scheme
to
together.
save some up for Chris.
Yes. Really, do you want to be, I mean, is there anything that is it active at the moment? Is that ongoing at the moment?
There are ongoing.
So we do need someone before the next meeting, maybe.
Yeah.
Would it be worth asking Chris, given he's not here, and it's not fair to put him on things that he might not be keen to be on?
Certainly.
And then if Chris isn't keen to be on, come back to us all and we'll
I
to see who
would potentially be interested in being on, but I'd love to, but I just
So
feel
just
like
for
I'm spreading
as
myself
these
too
groups
thin.
are dealing with various ongoing issues, like the Oval, which is, do you know where the Oval is? Yeah. South Lane and Southfield, the lay-by, so it's dealing with really the infrastructure, so the road space, the parking, various damage to, like, there's pothole issues. Southview's got serious parking issues, and they're looking to sort of basically maximise the parking while preserving the integrity of the road structures. They're looking at crossing, sorry if you're...
Well, it was just obviously the three working groups. The Oval Working Group that is set. You know, it's just
Plans
got,
are
if
prepared.
the plans are prepared, everything's ready to go. It's just waiting for NCC to do that. The South Lane Working Group, again, we're waiting for a plan survey that they were doing. Again, it's a long-term project. It's a drip, so it's not onerous at all. And the same with the lay-by working group. That obviously was set up initially to try and get the lay-by and the parking ongoing, the system ongoing, looking at the parking at the lay-by and down through the village. Now we're waiting for a survey for that, but they haven't actually agreed for a survey for that. So these are all drip things that actually, you know, are focused. Obviously, I've been on the group, and it actually just needs one council member to actually just keep on top of it, as in just put the odd email out as a reminders. So actually, to be honest, I'm redundant in terms of that, and at this moment I've been co-opted onto the Biodiversity and Climate Change Committee. So I think that the other working groups are quite capable of sitting with councillors as long as somebody just keeps the ball rolling.
Sure.
And I think I can actually do quite a bit more with the biodiversity group. So if that's okay, well, yeah, I'll just concentrate on that one for now.
Well, in that case, thank you for all the work you did on it. It was an incredible amount of work, and you just like to acknowledge having received the emails that you sent, and you did do a lot of work to on all three of the groups. So thank you.
Thank you.
So, you put it down.
Actually, I'll pass all the information on so that you've got that
Adam,
also.
you can.
I'm happy with down on it, and as I say, Chris not being here, if he wants to step in on them, I'm happy to kind of
Well, I think
shuffle out if
I think
Well,
it's good to have three members.
I'll put down this as a question mark, and we'll see if he wants to do, and then we can always add people on if we need to.
Yes. Right, excellent. Number 9, to appoint new committees and working groups.
So that you didn't know, but I just left it on in case anybody had anything that they desperately want to start up now.
No. 10, the general power of competence.
And I have to be honest, I was a bit unclear when I checked whether I needed to reaffirm this every year or only after the election years.
Yeah.
So I thought I better put it on and then it's done, isn't it?
Well, it's quite true, because it's a long time since anyone was elected
Yeah.
onto the parish council. It's always been done by co-option. And the last election time there was no election, because there was just the requisite number of
we're still at a third election candidates, even despite our recent spate of resignations. So I think we can confirm that that's still the case.
Okay, so
Confirm.
so show of hands to confirm
That we still continue.
that we still continue.
Yeah.
Excellent, thank you. Sorry, I'm feeling my way through this here.
It's a bit difficult because it's more of the like admin bits with the main. Oh, sorry, I just want to explain. So we had these other things coming from our standing orders under item 11. So I put them on there to say when we're going to deal with them. Review of policies. Now that I've got a bit of a policy working with again, I will kickstart that and we will try and get all the policies going and reviewed. That work had already begun, but then got paused and needs to be picked up again. The inventory of land and other assets, I've updated all of that. The accounts are drafted, the AGAR's drafted. I just need to agree with Patrick when he's doing his internal audit, so we'll deal with all of that together. Review of subscriptions. We've got a couple of subscriptions and I don't know how much people benefit from them really. You know, the council and clerks direct, it seems to be very much more now advertising of the council's successes.
I agree with you there, Claire.
It's changed, I think, from what it used to be.
You don't get a hard piece, it's just on email and
But we can review that when we do the budgets, what people want to continue and what people don't want to continue.
what does it cost? I thought the budget started
It's about £25. Clerks and councils is about £25.
Because I think LGR is going to go electronic now. I don't think you'll have a subscription because there'll be no print costs.
Is that not going in? We'll look at, as I say, I think we should do it when we do the next year's budget. It's sort of committed for this year. Review of the expenditure. So section 137 is just our donations, but we have to they have to be listed separately. So.
And that is the free council does it. Doesn't have to have a majority to do.
So that's included in the accounts. So I can draw your attention to it then. So that's 11.
Right.
12 is very how many?
Yes, 12, time and place of ordinary meetings. To determine the time and place of ordinary meetings of the council. Just for anyone listening, the next meetings are the 6th of June, 4th of July, 5th of September, 3rd of October, 7th of November, 5th of December, 6th of March, February, 6th of March, 3rd of April. The meetings will be held at Felton Village Hall at 7:15 PM unless otherwise specified on the meeting agenda. Everyone happy with that? We can approve that. 13 is finance. To receive a financial summary and budget monitoring 28th April 2022.
We've got at the start of our new year, so there's not very much on there at the moment.
To be honest with you, I think probably would.
Well, I know, but I thought I'd done it, so there's a lot of empty lines. The only thing I've done slightly differently this year, which made just to sort of, because we get our precept paid in two amounts, I've only included 50% of it available at the moment.
Oh yes.
Only 50% is actually in our bank, although we will have the full budget amount.
That's correct.
So that it should show a bit easier what we have in a pot at any given time. And we could potentially spend over because we have the budget, but we would have to borrow it from general reserves. So unless anybody's got any particular questions.
Any questions?
So you have to receive that.
So, we have a show of hands to receive the financial summary and budget for the 28th of April 2022. B is to authorise payments on page 12. Just to explain, the payment made to me is reimbursement for the play bark and mold traps, which I ordered.
I've changed, I haven't listed out the salaries, but obviously I'm going to provide that information because I was reading through the JPAG guidance as part of this year's audit, and it's got a new paragraph in there. I mean, I haven't looked back, I don't remember seeing it before, to say that we have to be mindful of GDPR issues when disclosing listing salaries.
That is very, very.
And so I thought, put it together, but if anybody needs the information, I'm happy to provide that, and obviously it'll be at the end of, the year of council, it'll be on the cash book anyway.
On this page 12, there's a website fee
Yeah,
payable to now.
yeah, so
What's that for?
for our website, so now hosts our website.
Okay.
Actually, to just give you an update, that was an experiment we started a few years ago with about 10 parish councils, and I think about every parish council in the county is now on it. Because it's such a good key.
Yeah, sounds reasonable.
So are you happy to authorise those payments? Or is there any other questions? Have a show of hands, please, to authorise the payments. C, to appoint member to verify bank reconciliation in accordance with financial regulations 2.2.
And Anne has been doing this from this year.
Annie, happy to continue with that?
Yeah, but do I not have to step down because I'm now
Are you on the finance?
secretary of the Felton,
It depends if you're going to add on as
cemeteries? Isn't the two members, the cemetery, I think,
Okay. Do you have anything that wants to do? So, the bank reconciliations, it's a quarterly job where you take my financial papers and have a quick look at, just sort of do a sample test across them to check that you're happy that.
You only have to do a sample.
Did you do all of them?
Yeah.
Well, I suppose you can be dedicated like that and you can do them all. What are you saying?
Yeah.
Alan's volunteered really fast.
It wasn't over.
Well done, Alan.
Does everybody have any Alan doing that? I see, is that why you volunteered for the cemetery?
No, I'm not reserved as a cemetery anyway.
I know.
To appoint additional secretaries to the bank mandate. Current secretaries are councillors Holdings and Souter.
So we've only got councillors Hood and Souter now. So we do probably need two more. So Anne will go on as a
Yes.
cemetery member.
This should both include members of Felton Cemetery Joint Committee.
And do you want to go as well, John?
Thank you.
Is that everybody okay for John and Anne to go?
Yes.
Alright, number 14, Felton Surgery. To review progress and agree any required actions.
So this is on my list. I've been looking at the various plans and I think...
Well, it's clear, we're not looking at talking about land transfer and everything, we're
Oh,
talking
sorry.
about surgery.
Okay.
And I mean, this is where Graham has been doing a lot of work with it. And he got some information which we got a copy of the email of a possible press release in the near future.
We've got an email about
But
that.
I
We
didn't,
did, it was...
I didn't bring it with us.
No. I think this was about, it was various things. I'm just grab my phone.
I know the PPG been pushing the practice, but I think this was a possible publication that the PPG sent to Greg.
Yeah, so this was, this came out from the PBG.
Today,
It was
It was sent very recently,
Saturday, I think, Friday.
8th of May, and then Greg forwarded it yesterday.
that was the 8th of May.
Because there's the night.
Yes.
Yes,
Not with it tonight, sorry. Okay, right, Northumberland Health, it says since January 2022, they have been part of, Felton and Widrington Surgeries have been part of the new practice called Northumberland Health, which is what Tony alluded to earlier. And then it just talks a bit about the logo, the new logo, and that you might notice a difference when you telephone the surgery. You have to choose the option for Northumberland Health if you wish to speak to the Felton Surgery reception. They also retain currently their individual presences on the web. Felton Surgery new build. The developer Assura is busy replanning and recosting the project because of the delays caused by COVID and recent increased costs. The PPG is aware of patient concern that the project may fail to meet the local authority deadline, meaning that the funding is lost and continues to raise these concerns with the GP surgery and the developer. Dr. Lees remains committed to building a new surgery and has written to County Council to request that the deadline is extended. And I think when Greg sent this round, he had suggested that we should add our support to that.
Yes.
So I'll send an email.
Am I right in thinking we can get the S106 money as long as we have actually started the project? We don't have to have it finished.
I think so.
That's correct, yeah.
So as long as we've got some sort of planning accepted and they are looking to have a build date, we should be able to get the money
Yes.
from
Yes.
town.
We shouldn't lose the money.
Right.
Um,
But it is due in December, isn't it, to expire?
Yes.
And then the other things are more, there's a bit about COVID boosters, there's a thing about there's the usual services and clinics operating at Felton. They do say that they are currently operating reduced hours service. That information is available on social media and on the surgery door. If you notice that the surgery is not open when advertised, please telephone and let a member of staff know so that the reason can be investigated so that we can have some problems. There's a proposed merger with practices from Wooler and Berwick. We had become aware of a proposed uniting of Northumberland Health. This was what was raised at the last meeting by Eileen as member of the PPG. It is not a merger of practices, it is an alignment of contracts. All partners would sign each other's contracts in order to collaborate over responsibility between the three practices. The practices would still be run separately. This type of collaboration is seen by our GPs as the only way for Northumberland practices to support each other and become more robust. And then there's more information about that, but it's unless anybody particularly wants me to.
That has been.
We've got it.
Go on, shit, go on.
No, I was just going to say we've got it.
And I think the PPG is putting that
It
out
was sent out.
publicly, as you say, so it should be available.
But there has been quite a lot of people confused by Northumberland Health. General public.
Yeah.
Calling you up because if you phone the hospital, so you phone Wansbeck, you phone different places, that's at Northumberland Health. I mean, my own wife had a phone call a week past Saturday, and the answer said, the lady on the line says, I'm from Northumberland Health. So Hazel thought it was the surgery. Wasn't.
No,
It was the hospital.
it's not a good choice of name, really.
Yeah.
It's a bit like NALC and NALC. Don't you think, Councillor Hood?
It's also a very big name, Northumberland, when they're only a very small part.
Yes, precisely.
So I don't think there's any action apart from, confirming that the parish council would also like the deadline to be extended.
Or just write the support of the letter that Dr. Lees has submitted.
Do you have any idea of when the Assura might actually come back?
Not from that.
But from our last dealings with Assura, there wasn't anything either, was there?
Because it had been put on hold.
Yeah. My worry is they're just...
Yes. Mine as well. Don't worry.
Right, 15.
Right, sorry. With this surgery, generally they do discuss the land documents. There were some land documents there.
Yeah, so it's just, I think we're still of the impression that it's in the wrong, that I haven't had written confirmation that it goes as far as the north and as far northwest as possible, and it does still seem that my feeling is that it should still run along that black, which I assume is the black fence line, and it seems to still have a small sliver in it, which I can't understand. So I'm going to send them, I've already sent that amended back, and I'll send it again. I think it's going to be the same picture as I sent them last time, so we'll see what comes back.
Because, I mean, the fence, the hedge, always goes with the land. It's a boundary.
Yes, it's definitely worth getting some clarity on it. Alright. And 15, a report from County Council Thorn. Read that.
Yeah, can we do that? I am pleased to report that staff are now returning to County Hall after the COVID pandemic. Good to see people back at their desks and the car park filling up. Home working has enabled NCC to keep functioning, but I have received numerous complaints regarding wholesale absences from certain departments. Things are getting better. The refurbishment of County Hall is going well, and we now have a workspace that is fit for modern working. It is hoped that we might accommodate some of the departments that have been traditionally located outside County Hall, hopefully resulting in a more efficient service. The Jubilee Celebration Fund was set at £70,000 to assist with community activities. However, following over 200 applications, this figure has increased by another 15,000. We hope the celebrations go well. The Conservative administration invited a team of local government inspectors to look at our work at NCC under the leadership of Max Caller. A report on his findings will be presented to full council on the 8th of June. Unemployment in the county has fallen to a low of 3.8%, and it is hoped that the levelling up initiatives of British Volt and JDR Cables in the southeast corner of Northumberland will make the local economy even stronger. The new leisure centre in Morpeth is nearing completion. Central government have recently awarded us a £163 million grant for bus improvements to the Joint Transport Fund, and it is hoped to do some park and ride pilot schemes, but it doesn't say where. I was delighted to cut the ribbon for the opening of the electric car charging points on Main Street in Felton. Good to learn about the work and projects of Felton can. That's it.
16 is an update from committees and working groups as required.
Should we start with biodiversity, because that's the most...
Yes, well, the Biodiversity and Climate Change Committee met last Thursday, and including Claire, 11 people attended. Hannah Davison came from the County Council Climate Change team when I requested somebody from that baker. There were the 3 committee members, Gary and Fiona were present, Tony Clayton, Chris Leake, Chris Medall, Harry Hall, all came from Felton Can. And in general, it was a very good atmosphere, I thought. I did make the point that we weren't trying to negotiate a competition with Felton Can, which is the impression they sometimes give, that we're poaching on their territory. But if we're going to achieve anything in terms of mitigating against climate change and improving the environment, we have to work together, pool ideas, share resources, and engage the community.
Do you have you still have my pen? May I have it back? Because my other one is not, and so is my spare.
You don't need to write this down because you've got to do the minutes.
I'm just putting down main points.
Main points, okay. So we appointed or we elected 2 or co-opted 2 members as non-voting members of the committee, who were Mark Winter, who some of you know, the Birdman, and Fiona, who had expressed an interest when the committee was first mentioned. We received a very good presentation from Anna Davison about a lot of things. She was really helpful. She works with the community side of the climate change team, and she filled us in on the County Council Warm Homes Initiative. Now, this was something you may recall that Matt Baker, who's the head of the climate change team at County Hall, wrote to Greg about, and I followed up. And Mark Baker seemed to want us to set up meetings with tradespeople and residents of Felton and so on, almost immediately in April. From what we were told on Thursday, The whole initiative is still very much in the design phase, and we haven't got very far with it yet. We did learn that it's limited to 10,000 per house in terms of the investment the county can make in improving insulation and introducing low carbon or non-carbon energy, which is quite limiting. So we had a bit of a discussion
And
about that.
she wants people to be quite realistic, doesn't she? She's
Yeah.
talking about improving the fabric of the building first before
Yeah.
getting carbon saving.
Exactly.
So you're not going to get solar panels until you've had your insulation done, so
Yeah.
which will eat up most of your 10,000.
But she did say that there are quite a lot of other energy use improvement schemes and funds available from the County Council, and we should keep the dialogue going. We talked about, there was a lot of interesting information about woodlands, and there's a very good climate and biodiversity Q&A session which Gary alerted me to, which is available on YouTube. And I would strongly recommend that councillors look at that. It's really interesting. Some very interesting people. Hannah mentioned in particular Anne Deary-Francis and Katie Scott in Hexham, and work they've done on some of the things we've been looking at, like wildflowers in the verges and the different mowing regimes, possibility, small woodland developments, which is a possibility for the Wreckfield riverside area, and there's a lot of help they can offer as well as potential funding. The subject of the community orchard came up, but not much light on the subject. I think Felton have had one or two ideas about using some patches of land that presumably belong to the county council. Yeah. So there's more discussions to be had there, and also we think it would be a good idea to look for other sites where an orchard that would really enable people to come and see fruit growing and then pick it would be a good thing. And they will make cider, yes. Chris Metherell, who wrote the urge management document, which was, I think, circulated to or brought to the attention of the council, was present, but didn't really say anything for reasons best known to himself. But we will, our committee will have a look at that proposal, because it's something that we could begin to move on fairly quickly, and I think we've said we will try to get a proposal to the next parish council meeting in June. And we talked about alternative energy, very speculative, but we need aspirations and vision. Do you want to add anything? No. Minutes will appear in
As
due
soon as
course.
possible, yes, I will.
Mr Chair, may I just add something to that one? It was,
Thank you.
we discussed the pro footpath as well at the meeting.
Oh yes, 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 thank you.
I looked at the documents at the, that were handed out. So the map that was for the south of the river, that doesn't actually have the position of the proposed footpath. It was produced in March 21, and the NCC and Highways got together in October, November, whenever it was, later that year. So there isn't actually a published document of the proposed plan. So whether or not, I mean, the committee needs to maybe get a fresh copy, because, or a proposal, so that is the document that we thought of putting up at the either road ends.
Yeah.
And obviously then potentially pass that on to Swarland as well, so that they've got an up-to-date copies.
Yeah, I was sent those maps.
It had
Did not
red.
have a red
It
up and down,
it,
which was
it,
the proposed new footpath to Westmoor,
no,
junction and back.
no, it was just like a red outline. I think it was
No.
something to do with the highways itself. It's
The extent of the works.
the extent of the works was the red line element to it. So
Chair, the plan is on the website, on the Highways website, Highways England website. And
Yeah.
the plan for the south side is the path which goes up what we call the Duke's Banks towards Mealyhoff is going to be diverted. Once you get to the highway, to the bypass, or to the new dual carriageway, it will be diverted to the left and will make its way up to the new junction at Westmoor, and then there will be access over the junction at Westmoor, back down the other side.
Have you got a copy of the map with that marked out on it?
I've seen it on the website. I haven't got a copy of printed out,
Yeah.
but I've seen it on the website.
But it's actually got that
the picture, the
path marked out on it.
Yes,
It's going to add miles to the route.
Well, I think what it represents is a completely different route. I think is what it's going to represent. It's completely changing the course of that path.
well, Felton Parish Council are pushing for to have the path to go down and hang a bridge or something and walk on the other side.
It's like a sheer cliff.
Yes.
I've written to Thurston Parish Council and Swarland. Thurston said they would look at it, but haven't come back with anything positive yet, so it might be waiting for the next meeting. But we said we thought it was worth at least asking them if they wanted to make representations to the county council, who made the decision, as far as we can tell, without any consultation with the parish councils and Highways England. So at the moment, I think there is a byway marked which they will reuse, but it's not shown as a new pathway that comes down the east side of the A1, all the way down to the junction, Southern Junction. It's crazy. I mean,
It's different, but when you look at how the path is used on the north of Ashington bypass now, and how that walk and cycle way that they've got next to the road is utilised, that has become really, really popular. And even though it's next to a main road, people are out, and it's actually really quite, because I mean, when I was working at Rossiter Prescott, I used to run it in my lunch break and things, and it's actually lovely. And I think you need to keep an open mind about it. And yes, there's change happening, and going and looking at the site, I can totally see the technical difficulties of actually putting an underpass or anything in that position when we're doing road workings. But I think we do need to have some kind of form of public consultation that's saying, this is what's being proposed, this is who's decided it, does anybody have any kind of have anything on it, and that has to be communicated with the public, and that is the general point. But it isn't necessarily a bad thing, it's just that people need to know what's going on, you know, in an accessible manner, and have an opportunity to say something about it.
so is the council happy for me to make those contacts and say, you know, we're prepared to
Well, there's something with that meeting coming up shortly, Richard.
of
Like NCC.
the highways?
Yes, you and I were at.
We were. I didn't know there was another one.
Yes, there's another one coming up shortly.
Well, that
Once 5th of June. I think it's the 5th of June is the decision, final decision for the bypass. But what's concerning me is all of a sudden, Highways England don't want the general public walking down the side of the road. Which
Well, I
you
think-
said how beneficial it is.
It's the fear if there is a large detour, then you may get people crossing the dual carriageway.
Yeah,
So,
that's.
That is the problem.
Anyhow, I think we will follow that up.
Because see, there's a circular route which a lot of people use now. You go to Duke Banks, up the Rhinefield path, and you go across the bridge, and come down the other way. And they want to block that.
Can I suggest we put something in the bridge, because that will get it out to everybody
Well, I think the committee had talked about doing something, you know, if you ever mentioned the signs at each end, actually, so, I guess,
I think it would be more beneficial in the bridge.
yeah, that's fine.
So are we under this allowed to propose an action?
I think the committee had already sort of come up with that as an action, so I think as long as the council, just so the council's aware.
Right, yeah, good. Any other updates from please? As for the rec field,
Yeah.
Yeah, there is funding coming available for football sports services, which would incorporate the playing field and the Luga and also buildings as well. Carolyn's putting quite a bit of pressure on to try and get us to put something together quickly. And I think that is this thing that we're going to have to get something pushed through. And try and get as many people to be able to put an opinion for it as possible. So I'm just lining the meeting at the moment with Carolyn. She's getting some forms reeled off which will have the details of what information we actually need on there.
We've got the 3 Luga quotes now.
Yeah.
The third one wasn't for the same service, so
Right.
I've sent those round.
did everybody receive the email from Gary regarding
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you for that, Gary.
Thank you. I mean, but
So what, can I ask how much the quotes were for these?
the last one was lots of money.
Lots of money. I think the 2 were, I think there was 2 sort of, so there were 2 for AstroTurf surfaces, which were much more expensive. So that was for the AstroTurf surface and new fencing, and I think one was definitely at around 50,000 off the top of my head, and I think the other was more expensive.
Just trying to find it, sorry.
And then the third one was was the local company who I think may have installed the original G&H Lilico,
Yeah.
That's them.
and he is proposing putting down, so it's prepping the surface, putting down there's a tarmac kind of surface again,
I have the GH
and
also.
renewing and replacing the fence and the plyboard, and his was about 25,000.
21,
Yeah.
450 plus
Oh,
that.
21,450, so that's what I thought.
So, well, with respect, obviously I know you've done a lot of work, but with looking at the mugger surface, well, at Swollen, it has the costs there that actually were
So
paid
when was that done?
just last
Last
year,
year.
Last year.
which was
Has anybody been to see it?
£2,000, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I'm aware of it, I haven't been since the email, but I'm aware of it.
It was 2,000.
£2,000 per court.
Per court, yeah.
And what
Per
was the
court.
surface like beforehand?
It was
No idea.
it was a tarmac
Yeah.
court that was.
I've
used
looked at the surface on that mugger in Felton. There's no major
There was no major
cracks or anything in
So
it.
I would please.
So for the sake of £2,000 to £3,000, you can have a
Well,
completely
yeah,
new
so
surface.
Yeah, I think
the
that
fencing all needs sorted as well.
I would
it
just.
does, and it is also the fact that the idea was for us to have it as a multi-use court, and the specific, it was when Stu did the research and went out and saying what we actually would have liked for it was what quotes we were looking at, to make sure that we were maximising the use for as many different users as possible. But yes, that would be an exceptionally good price. The thing is, it's like, it just sounds too good to be true.
That's
I'm not
fine.
saying it's not, it just does.
Unless John Anderson, the clerk, is making it up.
No, I think it is a multi-user court.
Yeah.
It is there for five-a-side. It is there
Yeah.
for tennis. It's there for basketball. It is
I
there
thought
for
there was
everything.
just tennis courts up at school.
No, it
No, there's a mugger and a separate
there's
tennis
a
court.
separate tennis court. So it obviously it was cleaned, spray cleaned, and all prepped and everything. And obviously they did work with the boards, I believe. So I genuinely believe it has to be investigated by with this particular company.
Oh, yeah,
Because I appreciate, I've been to a lot of the rec committee meetings about the mugger surface, and a few years ago it was looked as though it was going to be put forward, but the surface actually wasn't suitable for tennis or basketball.
Yeah.
It was only for football, and I appreciate that the football.
I know it was for tennis as well.
No, but the surface that was being proposed was only going to be suitable for football. You wouldn't get the bounce that you needed for tennis or the other.
And now that Felton Juniors seems to be tied up with Stobbswood in a major way, I would say the driver for actually worrying too much about the football side of it's gone.
He's potentially spending at the minimum of 50,000, because the one up at Long Fram was 50k. So this would be much less than that. There's a huge difference.
It is
But
a
on
massive,
top of
massive
that,
difference.
on top of that, you actually have this element that if you're going to put a mugger surface on and you're actually going to be dismantling that, you're putting down in effect a plastic surface, and you've actually got the ongoing costs of maintaining that. Whereas this particular surface that it's fallen, if it's possible here, then the ongoing maintenance of that is far less, and actually will be extremely quick to get it down, so that can be concentrated on the rest of the redevelopment.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is the thing, is that when we go down through it, is that then we need to have some form of very rapid public consultation to check that this is actually what, it's going to suffice, what people are going to want and things. But we'll definitely investigate it further, won't we, Claire, and see if it is a viable option for it. So thank you for doing that.
Yes.
This isn't a general discussion about the recreation field renewal programme, but a thought occurred to me during the course of the Felton Plot and Shed Association meeting, of which I am the secretary, so I declare an interest there, which is the allotment on Recreation Lane. The whole idea originally was to have a building, namely the youth club, which we thought we had, where people could go and do things, and particularly associated with the Men's Shed Association, where men go and do stuff during the day, because apparently they have not enough to do. But it could be multi-use, and the thought occurred to me that maybe it would be worth having a bit of a discussion about whether a new building on the rec field could be very much a multi-purpose building and used as part of
Yes, well,
Go backwards and forth. The Rec Fields Committee has talked about this at length at its last meeting, backwards and forwards, because the thing, the driver really is the funding. So if a building has a mainly sports use, which sits sort of neater with the field, because it's a sports field, there's sports funding available. If we're saying it's a community building, there's potentially community building funding available. It's not necessarily that we'll be able to apply for both, so we might have to put it into one, push it into one categorisation. And we're going backwards and forwards quite a lot about whether what should be the main purpose.
Well, it's possible that the plot could raise money on its own cognizance to have access to a building that it could use for part of the time. But it seems to me to have a building that's only used for sport
It's
is
not
going to be a
deliberately
big waste of money.
only used for sport, but when you're looking at the uses that it needs to have and the facilities that it was like, if we push it through as a sports building, and that is where the funding we'd have to seek for it, then we get the facilities for that, and that is a building that then can be used for lots of other things. Saying that you're putting it through a community that means it's not going to have changing room, showers and those things, but a sports facility would still need those, plus a kitchen and whatnot. So
I was going to say that the WI, they in the summer have croquet sessions, so maybe the gentlemen of the village could do something similar, which would facilitate the men's shed thing. So if you incorporate a sports element to your meetings, then that would
Yes.
that
We basically want it to be able to be used by as many people as possible, because otherwise it's not going to be viable.
So the discussion is still open.
there's wiggle room to get you in there.
right.
The only other
So
thing,
another bottle of Prosecco needed.
the only other thing since the last Recfield meeting, Lindsay and David and I have installed one of the offshots on the western edge of Recfield that appears to be draining.
Brilliant.
So,
Eastern side, surely.
yes, sorry.
Yes, eastern side.
Yep, sorry. This is upside down here. Yes, so we nearest the waste. Do you know where the brambles and everything were on the north-east side, in there. So we've got approximately a 10 metre offshot drain in there, nice and deep. And there was an incredible amount of water came out.
Wow.
So like, enough to fill a bucket in a minute, pretty constant. So, so then we do plan to do another one. And it is on my to-do lists to get the CCTV surveyed in as well. So, but hopefully it is doing some good.
There is a lot of water under the ground because when we did site borings on our back garden, when they got down to about 2 metres, it was just water.
Yes, the springs.
Yeah.
There's a spring in the Yorkshire
So-
underneath your garden. I can tell you that.
Excellent.
Because there's a spring in your field as well.
I know, yeah.
Is there anything else? Any other representations? Any other meetings had? The update from Northumbria Police.
Yes, again, no crimes reported, which would have a wider community impact. They have noted that the significant increase in global fuel prices is resulting in a consequent increase in fuel thefts. Reports across the country indicate offenders are becoming more organised and using sophisticated methods to remove large amounts of oil. I don't think it applies if there's anybody that's got oil tanks in house, who knows. They are aware and are conducting increased patrols targeting areas where fuel is stored.
Is it an oil generator that they use out in Felton Parish?
I don't know.
The what?
It's a diesel generator, I believe.
Yeah, it's just
Where?
It's probably, I was going to say, it's probably the farmers that
Yeah, but I
that
think
have
that particular farmer might be worth giving a warning to because it just strikes me as being in a vulnerable position.
Don't think that. I can tell you now.
Right,
Be careful. Don't be misled by appearances.
Oh no, I've been on the receiving end of it. So
Go on.
there has been an incident of note. There has been a report of suspected poachers in Felton on the 3rd of April. The report was received at 6:30 in the evening of males poaching rabbits using a 08 Peugeot vehicle. No further details. So
Are we running them over or something?
I don't know. Doesn't say.
No.
You can report any suspicious activity via 101
Be
or
on the
web.
deck, presumably.
Operation Checkpoint sounds like it went really well. So this was their big drugs, targeted drugs raid. It was a cross-county operation. Almost 70 vehicles were stopped, drugs seized, suspects arrested, and targeted initiatives carried out as part of the continued fight against criminal activity in rural communities. And then they're just pushing. They've got a new service, a new tool, Northumbria Connected. Waiting for report issues to them. And that's their recognised media format going forward. They are still planning to return with their engagement van and will send dates once confirmed.
Are you aware of an incident in Thurston last week?
outside Pumpkin Pie.
Yes.
I won't know, I'm not.
Only with the report from Pumpkin Pie to say that it was an unfortunate time, place. It was unrelated to the village, it was unrelated to the nursery,
I know,
and it was
yes,
simply where the police managed
But
to stop the
People
vehicle.
weren't sure it was going to relate to Thurston or not.
Yeah, so I think they were just using it as it was just a road they happened to be stopped on.
Where there was little access away from it and a lot of traffic stopped there, easy place to stop.
Yes.
Because I believe those two cars went up and down the main street, I wasn't here.
Very fast.
They said if there's any child had stepped out, they wouldn't have it. And that was frightening.
It's a very dangerous street to cross.
Always has been. And the bypass hasn't improved that much either.
Right, number 19, Leamington Lane bus shelter.
I haven't seen anything come in. They did say that they were going to discuss it at their last meeting and come back to us. So I'll just do a
Chase up.
formal request.
It would be a shame to make any drastic actions, such as demolishing or removing, since there's just been a lot of money given to bus services. So I think giving them a little more time to decide would be a good idea. Do we defer this to next month? Everyone happy to do that?
Yeah.
Item 20 was the ramp at Riverside. I asked for this to be put on. I'm really struggling to find a contractor who will work on SSI. Yeah. I have taken it upon myself to bring the item up with County Councillor Thorne to see if there was anybody within the council that should be recommended, or a council contractor or something. And Councillor Thorne has offered, out of his purse, £2,000 towards the project. So I will keep on him about that. Stones agriculture.
Tenders. Shores.
Stones agri. The contractors.
WL Stone and Son.
Yes, yeah.
So
Because they do all sorts of good.
my point of putting this on the agenda was to ask if anybody would care to help find somebody who wants to work on the job.
I've been figures out in this.
I've tried to contact them, left a couple of voicemails and haven't had a response back, but I will try and get an email from them.
Sorry. And also they hope we do something for us.
Yeah, so I'm quite happy to help out there. Working in the constructions, firmly, they do have contacts with contractors, so you'd be able to help.
Yeah.
All very
So this has been going on for like a long time, like years, really, since I
Yeah,
started.
well, it's something that's
Or it has, because we did do the patch repairs.
Well,
didn't we?
yes, we did do patch repairs.
Do we know who installed it in the first place? Because that
Yes,
might
they're not
be
there
where
now.
they're not there now.
No whole landscapes from all property.
Right. It's just that there's been lots of people have said, when are we going to do something about it?
Yes, it's been closed for a long
time.
Well, it's the only disciplinary access to the river in the village, which, and I'm ashamed to say that it's been left at my door, and I'm really struggling to get any further.
But I was struggling before you though as well, so it's just very difficult.
Fiona, sorry.
Again, Richard and I, Gary, will listen to the biodiversity sort of webinar from NCC. So that this the ecologist Anne Deary Francis is NCC. She's I think she's the head. So she'll be used to dealing with contractors on SSI sites. So she might be able to put you in contact with some people that have done work previously.
Excellent, yeah, thank you.
But on the subject of the ramp itself, has there been a redesign of the access considered?
Well,
Because obviously it zigzags and...
well, yes, I did bring it to the last property meeting, which was a while ago, and fortunately or unfortunately, that tree has now been dealt with. In my opinion, I think to save materials and the sheer cost of materials, it could come in where the trees came down, and that would cut the materials down by a good 35–40%. I don't know whether you have to get planning authority to do anything there with it being a triple SI, but the consensus of opinion at the meeting was the foundations of the ramp that's there seem fairly substantial still, and seem like we could go again. So we sort of decided to just do a like-for-like replacement.
Okay.
However, it's taken such a long time to get even a step forward. If anybody would be interested in having another meeting on it, we can call the property management meeting, and if we can come up with a new idea as to how to get it back open, because ultimately that's the only thing I think we need to be focusing on. If it's a different shape, then that would be excellent. My personal opinion again, I think the ramp goes the wrong way. So every time the river's in spade, it fills up full of silt. It would cost maybe a phenomenal amount of money.
It would fill up either way job.
Yeah, well, yes, but I think the way it is, it sort of lends itself to damage and things like that. But we'll have to do what's most cost effective and what's going to get the job done. So you know, like I said, I'm open to any ideas on it.
A while ago, there was a proposal to actually do some digging out of the back burn.
Yeah.
Wasn't there an access down there? Who was that the county council?
I'm not sure. Sorry,
Are you talking about, real close?
No, about
The fisheries
the
was
fisheries.
There was a
Yeah.
fisheries to put in
That was just a very
a
minor
ladder
thing.
thing, wasn't it?
I think they just put something underneath to let the fish.
I just wondered if there was any sort of work where we could do it as a combined effort, so if they needed access and we needed
I think theirs is
access,
just a
and
very minor.
it's not going to make any difference, that's fine. I was just thinking of
We
ways
had
that
a-
we
Oh, that was when we some of the water bills of water authority.
yeah.
I'm very aware that it's been closed for a long time. It looks like we're not doing anything. It is the only buggy access and disabled access down to the riverside, and I would love to see it completed, you know, ASAP. So if anybody has any,
Think of
I'll make
contractors.
sure protocols, as you say, John, we say go somewhere.
Maybe we should all just see if we can find somebody that would
right,
be
excellent.
interested and then come back with
Okay.
any
Yeah.
ideas.
And apologies for not getting any further.
Well, you've tried.
Yeah.
Is it worth putting something in the bridge or on the Facebook?
It can't hurt. You know, I think it would be a good idea. We had sort of talked that you know, a carpenter could do the job, and a competent person could do the job. But it's as soon as you mention that it is on the triple SI site,
Yeah.
quite a lot of people just say not for me. You know.
Okay.
When's the deadline?
Tomorrow,
I thought so.
I'll ask Tony if I can put something in.
Have you had the contact details for Deary Smith from
Francis.
Anna?
Yes, I think so.
I think she'd be on
But can we
the
contact
County Council website.
contact her?
Yeah, yeah.
And Adam, if you can have a look into your contacts
Yeah,
as well. All right, excellent. Thank you very much.
The other person who might be useful is Dave Francis. Have you talked to him? Because he was a planner. Sort of, yeah,
It was never.
he was. Well, he thinks he was. Before he was running now.
Well, he used to advise on planning. Town planning.
Well, anyhow.
Well, that sounded like I'm taking responsibilities. Would you like to talk to him?
Yeah.
If you contact anybody, anything of it.
Yeah, and if anybody wants any information that, you know, I've got a copy of the plan, etc.
Yeah.
Of what is there.
Yeah.
But
Can you send me have you got a sort of brief job spec?
yes, I have. Yeah, it's on my laptop at work, so I'll
If you can send it.
Actually, John, if you send that to everybody and then we can all
Yeah.
No, try and
send out the same day.
I will do it. Right.
And when they get contacted by 10 people.
We might get in, yeah.
Excellent. Item 21 is the red phone box. So we left it last time. We had a quote, which I think, given the price of material increases and the cost of carrying out work at the moment, I think we should probably have another look at the cost of this. We had mentioned about a fundraiser, sorry. But I would like to ask the council to, because I think it needs doing,
Yeah.
I'd like to ask the council if it can be taken out of the budget. And then potentially a fundraiser towards the cause could be done as well. So we're happy for me to contact the companies again
Yeah.
to check costs in case
And
there's
then
any
I can
prices.
tell you where it can come from.
And I'll draft an email back.
Just what works are involved in is it?
The red phone box on the bridge, it's a listed item and it has to be
Certain paint.
certain paints, you know, certain materials, certain thickness of glass. And there's quite a lot of regulations to put it back to spec. And of course it's worth doing the job well. It's well past a repaint. I know in time it's been talked about, you know, the rust could just be treated and repaired, but it's, from my experience, it's beyond it.
Yeah.
So originally the two prices was a full museum spec restoration, which was approximately £6,000-ish, and then a cosmetic one, which was the exterior fully repaired, new glass, new brass fittings, new hinges to go back to, you know, looking as it should, but with an alternative use for the inside of it. So you know, it's currently used as an info box. So it would be you know, a notice board on a shelf, which would be useful to carry on its current use. So that's what we sort of decided, and that was 3,600. So but again,
But they would sort of do for the full.
yeah, they do the full job on it. Yeah. And that was quite an in-depth restoration.
Because there is holes appearing in things.
Yes,
Isn't there?
yes. The guy that I spoke to on the phone, very interesting guy, and he literally knows everything about them. You know, like even down to the, we're going back a little while now, but even going down to the British standard spec number for the paint. You know, and actually, he said on site in each storeroom we had every brass bolt, every leather strap for the doors, and it was good. And I would like to contact him again, get an up-to-date price, and I'll come back to you with that. But I want to push this on because it's been sitting on the job list for a long time, and I would like to sort of at least set a target date for ourselves to have it done by. The sun's in the sky now, and all the tourists are coming, and it's a shame to have things lying around and not getting done.
Yeah.
So I will get on with that and send you all out an email.
Fantastic.
I know this isn't part of the agenda, but just while we're talking about renovating things, you were going to have a look at the seats and the pavement area
Yes.
out there as well.
Last Saturday Saturday before when we did the rec field, if it had been raining, I was going to come and do that. So my intention is to get that done this weekend.
Need any help?
I've got some very willing helpers, but if anybody wants to come out on Saturday, it'll be around about 10 o'clock. Weather dependent, of course.
And is that to do the flags?
The power washing of the flags, and I think the WI requested some of the benches. There was it's on an email, but there was a bit extra that they wanted done, just with it.
Because we were going to get the seats really taken back and totally redone as well, weren't we?
Yes, we're going to contact somebody about the sand back and repaint for that. I don't know if
Just we're getting kind of
we're getting near
the Jubilee and...
Yeah. I don't know if the benches would have to be removed to be sanded and painted.
I honestly don't know.
I don't know. Does Alan do this?
I think he possibly still does, but I think that just because it's going to be that focus.
I know, but I mean,
whether
I
you
used to
do it.
speak to Alan about it. Just double check, doing sort of standards to us, we don't know.
No.
Do you know Alan could you ask him? Is that right?
I'll check which seats he looks after.
I think he did tell me. I'll have a look through my emails as well.
Pardon?
I think he contacted me, so I'll have a look and see.
There was a bit of a fear about power washing and making the flagstones slightly more loose. So the consensus opinion was to power wash them and then re-sand them. So that's the intention.
Oh, you mean sand?
Oh,
Yeah.
so brush sand back in the shafts.
Yeah, because they were just a couple of them are. I think there is one of them.
I know, George, you put me across
Yeah,
last
it was
time.
quite some of them are quite
There's
loose.
3 or 4 in
And
quite loose.
is it the kind of edging stones with a bit sticky up?
Yes. So we'll have a.
Sorry, that's a technical description. I totally for you.
Well, there are a few areas
That was
that
very good.
Edging stones sticky up.
will be classed as trip hazards, so we'll have a look at that. The ramp was closed a few weeks back. Is that work being done?
Yeah, it was to effectively reset those big stones that had come loose.
Right.
So they're now, fingers crossed, solid and shouldn't wobble.
As far as
touch them.
I'm aware, the extra bit that we got asked to do was the surface of that ramp was a bit mossy, so we're asked if we can power wash that as well. But I'll check where they want to do it, and we'll get on and do that while we're here.
Brilliant, thank you.
Right, number 22, the annual parish meeting. The rearrangement for the annual parish meeting of local government electors, i.e. those registered on the electoral roll, to vote in the parish of Felton. It's open to the public.
Yeah, we haven't had one for the last couple of years with COVID, and we were online, and then last year we did talk about it, and then there was various COVID-related reasons and other reasons we didn't go ahead. So it's not a parish council meeting, but the chairman or a number of councillors or a number of residents acting together, or all, any of those groups are entitled to call it. So historically it has been called by our chairman, and I think we have talked about wanting to go ahead, so it seems sensible to make arrangements now.
Would there be an objection to setting a date now?
Well, you've seen Lindsay's chair.
Yeah.
You need to check with him.
Yes, I know we do, but and he and we need to give 7 days, 7 clear working days notice, so it's longer the notice period than.
Actually, would we need to check with Lindsay, because any councillors can call it.
Yeah.
There's another of us
So if
here,
Lindsay wasn't able to,
So
we would have two
we
councillors called
we
it.
could call it, and
So can I ask if anybody would like to call a meeting? Am I allowed to do that?
Yeah.
Sorry, no.
Whether,
Basically, if we want to
what
go
is the
ahead,
question? Whether the council wants to call a
yes, because
meeting?
if we go ahead, we would need
Yeah.
either Lindsay or two. I think it's 2 councillors, but I can check to put their names to the agenda.
Would anyone like to call the parish meeting? I think it's quite important, so I would like to call.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think we so we just need to set a date.
Am I allowed to do
Yes, for sure.
that? Sorry.
It's fine.
that's questions to get on.
Yeah, it may be convened by the chairman or any 2 councillors or by 6 electors. So
Well,
we
we've
can,
done that,
yeah,
yeah.
we're going to do that bit, and it says
Do we need to set a date?
Well, you need to find out when the hall's available, won't you?
7 clear days.
Does it have to be held in the hall?
No,
Well, that's the rules.
it doesn't have to be held in
One day in the rec field.
places. It's entitled to meet wherever we are entitled to meet. So.
Well, I think it is important, and I personally would see the benefit of having to hold the meeting, so
Yeah.
I will make time. If we can see when the hall's
Are
available.
we looking? So are we sort of looking early after the Jubilee or before? After. Yeah. So you're sort of looking at mid-Jubilee, aren't you?
Mm-hmm.
You don't want it the week immediately following the Jubilee, because I think people will all be like meeting now, so probably ideally in the week of the 13th or the 20th of June.
And then you're getting close to Felton.
When's Felton Green?
25th.
So ideally the week of the 13th of June, because that's a full week after the Jubilee.
That's that.
We do most. Do you, I mean, is there a gap in the Felton Green timetable where you can take advantage of the people that are out and say, you know,
I couldn't comment on that, but
I think
I haven't seen what I've seen of the schedule, no, with that.
it was just a question.
because people
To
move
think that
around.
if people were sort of out and about, that they might have dropped into something else while they were making
There's
their
things in here,
Yeah,
things
that's
out
fine.
there, so I think no.
I mean, we could go later. I mean, ideally it's supposed to happen within a certain times, but I think it's more important to have it. It says it should assemble between the 1st of March and the 1st of June, so it should take place earlier, but we can't. So unless we're going to squash one in the next couple of weeks.
The thing is that there's still traces of COVID.
Yeah.
So I'm not trying on the head of it.
I think we have to publicise it properly as well.
Yes.
So we'll probably have to wait until
I
there's
think we're better
police
doing
release.
going ahead with something, and then next year aiming to have it earlier in the year.
Can we put something in the bridge? Because it's
Whether we need to pick a date, then we should have a look at the now.
I mean, could we not push it back to September after we reconvene after the summer?
No.
No, is that an absolute?
Well, we could. You can have any. There's supposed to be an annual parish meeting which is supposed to take place between the 1st of March and the 1st of June, so we've sort of missed the dates really for it. But there's nothing to say you can't have additional parish meetings whenever you like.
if it's something that we have to do, can I ask an obvious question why we haven't done it?
Because of COVID.
We don't have to. There's no.
Right.
It's one of these things where there's no legal enforceable method to make it happen. So it says that the parish meeting, so that a meeting of the parishioners must happen between the 1st of March and the 1st of June. But then it says these people may call it, and it doesn't put a legal obligation on any one person to call and any one group of people to call it. So that's why it hasn't happened in the last year.
Can we use
I think there is a legal obligation for the parish council to arrange
No,
it.
it doesn't say so. It says
I
may.
think the legislation
The legislation
says
is
there's a legal, it's in the legislation under parish councils to arrange an annual parish meeting, which is effectively a village meeting.
Yeah. But
Okay, well,
I think we take your
disagree
point
with
though
the
that you're
Right,
running out
okay.
of time.
If there's no
I mean, the fact that you
legal-
didn't do it last year, and up until we actually got involved in the parish council, you didn't bother with them at all.
Yes, we did.
No, you had a
No.
cursory thing where you included it with your annual council
There
meeting,
was no
and it lasted
publicity.
about 5 minutes.
There was no publicity
So
about any of
you're not in a position to actually...
I'm sorry, Mr. Crisantia, you are out of order, because I have been here when there's been 20 and 30 people at the parish meeting before the parish council annual general meeting.
Can we just
Let's
simmer down a little bit? We're
I think we
organising
just
the one.
need to have one. We need to agree when it's going to be held if we're having one.
Yes.
Obviously.
Well, I would have thought it makes more sense to do it in the autumn, because June is pretty busy. July and August are holidays.
Do we have one in September with a view to holding one in, say, March or April next year then?
Well,
Like have
I
September.
think we should get back into a habit as soon as we can.
If there's a window, we should be within the
The
window.
thing is, if we did it at the end of June or the beginning of July, we'll have a meeting and then we will have the summer break as we don't meet in
Yeah.
August. And then anything that comes up in that meeting, it's going to be frustrating for people because we're not going to have that immediate follow-up, which is why I'm suggesting doing it in early September, so that we can say we can reconvene after the summer, invite everybody in for it, and then we've got that thing where we're quite efficient over the autumn and things, and we'll be able to actually act on things that might come up. And I think that's got potential of working quite well. I do think that we're very busy here, and I think it's worth doing properly, and that'll give us the chance to publicise it and things. And then if we introduced it in September, depending on uptake of things, we could even say that we would do something biannually.
March one as well.
How does that sound to everybody?
That sounds good.
Because then we can bring the annual one back to have, so we have the
Yeah.
September one to catch up,
Yeah,
and then we have one in the March as well,
March,
the
and
official one.
then,
and
that
that
was
means-
official one, and then see if we need to do it again in September.
And that means that we would be bringing
Because
our-
I think this of actually kind of re-engaging with the community and things,
Yeah.
we've got people in the community that just don't even understand who we are, what we're doing and what's going on, and it's taken me, a year of being here to probably even start to get my head around it myself, and I think this would make it be a real good opportunity to do that.
Well, having been asked the question by a long-standing resident, what do the parish council do? I think it would be a good opportunity to say what we do and certainly answer questions. And
Yeah.
I'm keen to have it as early as possible, but realistically, if
Yeah.
September.
Would that sit within the legal framework, they're okay to do that?
It wouldn't count as an annual parish. It wouldn't count as an
Yeah.
annual parish meeting because that has to be held between the 1st of March and the 1st of June. But it could be a parish meeting, and then we could have an annual one in the following March.
Gary.
You've just been discussing the rec field and buildings and wanting to consult with the public urgently.
Yes.
Can't you do that at the annual parish
Okay.
meeting?
Yes, I think if
You can have the meeting within 7 days' notice.
it would be a good idea. To
I don't really know why you can't have it within the next few
Well,
weeks.
Well,
Well, it was just me saying that it had to be. I mean, we could go the last. I mean, when's half term week's the 30th, isn't it? Because you probably do the last week of half term, the 23rd.
Gary, I do agree with you, and I think there's certain projects that we have in the pipeline that require community interest, and we need to improve community consultation, for instance. And I think this is a perfect opportunity to do that.
Yes.
Correct.
I would like to think, given enough time for people to put it in the diary, that there would be a good turnout. Summer is busy for people, and we could miss the opportunity to meet with certain members of the public just due to school holidays and kids break up. So I think given enough time to let people get it in the diaries is probably a good idea, but I do take your point, it could be done in 7 days. I would just like to try and get as many people here as possible. So.
But do you just have one now? So, you know, do you have one now, and then a further, you know, have
Yeah,
one out short
well,
notice,
well,
and have a further one if we need one?
If there's a window where we should have it in, I think we should have it, and there's a potential to have as many as we want.
Yeah.
So why not?
Are we talking about Saturday daytime or
It has to be after 6 o'clock in the evening.
after 6 in the evening?
I think, because obviously Councillor Cuthbert was correct earlier that you want to move the rec field, all of the things forward, and delaying that to September then just impinges on that. So it's actually a good opportunity, because then that could rally the
It would do.
support.
It's a good suggestion.
Right, I mean, that week, the week of the 23rd of May, we could be, I wanted to be in the big hall. We could be the 24th, which is the Tuesday, or the Friday, that week.
I can't do either of those, I'm afraid.
Neither can I, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Or we could do the Sunday, the 29th. That's
Point of order, it isn't a parish council meeting.
Well, yes, I know, but
There's
you
no,
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 but if the two of us are actually going to be there,
who are on the rec fields then.
can
Yeah.
be there.
Unfortunately, I can't do the weekend of the 27th, 28th, and I can't do Tuesday the 24th, which would be, unless I can get somebody else to do Farm on Call South for our Northumberland events.
Is half term the week after that?
30th. And that's the Jubilee week as well.
What's the one, 17th?
17th's too early, it's not 7 days with notice, and that would have to go out to, if it went out tonight, the earliest it could be is the 18th.
Can anybody else do Tuesday the 24th of May if I can get?
You don't have to be there. I know.
Well, I
like to be
think
there
this is the
with
thing, you're
yours.
just saying that, you know, that what I need to achieve personally, you know, is what we want to get out of it, so.
Could we do it mid-June?
Yeah.
17th of June or somewhere around there?
If it's not on the weekend, do it in June, and that gives us a chance of getting it in the bridge as well.
17th of June's a Friday night. Yes, we could do that.
Yep.
Okay.
Anytime that week.
Yeah, I can do
December
that.
17th of
Or,
June.
yeah.
17th.
It's again, you can either have the Tuesday or the Friday,
You can do
basically.
I can do Friday the 17th, yeah.
Is Friday okay?
I think, I'll have to check.
Well, the Tuesday, no, the thing is, the Friday off the Tuesday, no.
Tuesday, is it Tuesday better? Tuesday the 14th?
Yeah, do Tuesday the
I would say
14th.
it's okay, yes.
Tuesday?
Yeah,
Tuesday the
cross that
14th.
one out, put another one in.
Tuesday the 14th of June. Yes?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So do you want that in the bridge as well?
Yes, please.
Yes, please.
So I'm not calling it the annual parish meeting, I'll call it parish meeting.
I think it's called the annual one, just said that it's out of the time frame, it's 2 weeks out of the time frame, but I think,
By 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Not serious.
And within that advert, can you not actually make too much of this thing about being registered voters? In the past, when any publicity's been, it's a bit like how it's written here. Annual parish meeting, only those registered on the electoral roll, or, you know, that keep that out.
It's only open to residents of the Felton.
no, it's a public meeting, and the only people that can vote are residents.
Yeah,
our residents.
yes.
I was just going to put it in as a parish meeting, everybody welcome to attend. Come
I
along
think,
and
I
find out
know,
what's
no,
going on.
I think that's perfectly fine. I think in the past, every notice has had this business about you know, voting in the parish, and you don't want to be putting people off. So
I think we just would like everybody to know what's
correct,
going on
and that's what
no
that
barriers.
correct, and that, like I say, in the past that hasn't happened.
So what time? 7:30, 7:15?
What is the most convenient?